Former President Jacob Zuma's attempt to privately prosecute his successor has failed. The High Court in Johannesburg has declared his prosecution of President Cyril Ramaphosa invalid and unconstitutional. Well, the court says the nolle prosecution certificate issued by the KwaZulu-Natal Director of Public Prosecutions to Zuma does not apply to Ramaphosa. Let's bring in now legal expert Paul Hoffman to, of course, weigh in on this judgment. And thank you so much, Paul, for your time. Good morning to you. What's your reaction to the judgment?
Totally expected, I'm afraid. It's just another phase of the Stalingrad strategy that the legal team of Jacob Zuma have been following for years with a view to thwarting the big corruption case which Billy Downer has been prosecuting since 2005, when he succeeded in getting Shabir Sheikh locked up for, on a sentence of 15 years for corrupting Mr. Zuma. So the story will continue. I'm sure there will be appeals. I see the spokesperson for the Jacob Zuma Foundation has already indicated that he thinks that the appeal in this matter, yesterday's judgment, and the appeals against the adverse judgments against Mr. Zuma in the Billy Downer case and the Karen Morn case will all be heard together in the Supreme Court of Appeal on their way to the Constitutional Court. So it's another stage in the saga, but it is an important one because it's now got to the point where the courts are saying that Mr. Zuma is abusing the process of court. They've given an adverse costs award against him in this matter, and they could, in the discretion that they have in relation to costs, either order him to pay punitive costs awards or even get his lawyers to pay out of their own pockets for giving him such bad advice. And then the next step after that is to declare Mr. Zuma a vexatious litigant, thereby preventing him from abusing the process of court by bringing unfounded cases. This case was based on the notion that the president had committed a crime for not prosecuting Billy Downer for sharing alleged confidential medical information about the health of Mr. Zuma with Karen Morn. That's how poor it was.
Absolutely. This case is about the president alleged or the accused to being an accessory who simply did not act on a complaint against Billy Downer. But you're absolutely right, Paul. I mean, hearing from Mzwanele Manyi, spokesperson for the Jacob Zuma Foundation, he says the lawyers are currently studying this judgment. They would announce a way forward in due course. An appeal seems to not be ruled out in the case, as we've seen track records from the former president Jacob Zuma when it comes to, you know, this court case. Does he have a case should he decide to appeal, or is this simply another delay tactic?
I'm afraid it's the latter. He is simply playing for time and really trifling with the law and with the process of the courts. And he's getting to the point now where he's becoming vexatious, and there are remedies for that in law.
Obviously, a win for...
The courts have been exceedingly patient with him, really.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you there in terms of, you know, the patience. And I spoke to a legal expert about this and said, listen, he has a right to continuously go to the courts, albeit not to abuse court processes. But my point before was that it's a win for President Cyril Ramaphosa, obviously, but is it one for Billy Downer and Karen Morn? Could this obviously be to their advantage moving forward with this case?
No, I think that they've had their victory already. There noises there about appeals as well, and really case management is the order of the day now. The registrars of the courts that are involved must coordinate their planning in such a way that there are not long delays between an adverse finding against Mr. Zuma and the completion of appeals relating to that adverse finding. Because if the object of the exercise is to buy time, and there's no time granted by delays in the courts, then it becomes an exercise in futility to keep appealing and having the appeal heard very shortly after the adverse award is made. So it's really through case management, through the granting of punitive costs awards, and through a declaration that Mr. Zuma is a vexatious litigant, that we can put a stop to this Stalingrad strategy and get on with the criminal case, the corruption case that has been pending ever since Sabia's Sheikh went down for corrupting Mr. Zuma.
Well, Paul, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to me about this, giving your analysis, but also reaction to the judgment. Well, that is, of course, legal expert Paul Hoffman joining me right on Newslink at the back of former President Jacob Zuma losing against President Cyril Ramaphosa in that private prosecution case against the current president.